with the whole integration thing, I think we lost sight because we wanted to fit in.
We wanted to be a part of the things that we really didn't like the most.
And so now we're blaming them. I don't know who them is, but we're blaming them because they're not teaching what we want them to teach.
But does it really fall on the school system to teach your children?
That's why I said we blame them.
And that's why I said in the beginning, we don't want to hold that mirror up. We don't want to wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and hold ourselves accountable for the things that our children don't know. And you really can't blame the children because the parents don't know. What is going on, everyone's? We are here and we are back with another episode of
Is My Point Valid?
Yes, indeed. I am yours truly, Brandon D.
And I am Camille A. Stocker.
And before we get into it, we want to say if you get any value or enjoy our content, make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe because we really appreciate it. And we thank everyone who continues to rock with us on a weekly basis. We do this for y'all. We do this for us. We do it for everyone. The conversations that we have need to be had, and we need to spread the word. So if you do us a big favor and share this video, like this video, comment on this video, and help us grow, we appreciate it. But we're gonna go ahead and start this episode with a question, and the question for today is going to be, baby.
Sorry, we're gonna start this thing off right. Do fall in here, but we are hey, do it, maybe stick it. Right.
Oh,
okay.
Smile.
Living.
Yeah, we living our best life. So let's start this way. How you feeling today?
Okay. No, I am great because I just watched one of my favorite movies ever.
She just sat down and watched a whole 2-hour musical.
We a dream girl.
I'm glad I was in the studio doing something else because I would have been looking crazy.
Because you would have messed up my mood, my groove.
You was grooving?
I like dream
Was it
girls.
Groovy, baby?
I like dream girls.
Okay.
Jimmy Won't Jimmy Won't Man, okay. I like that movie a lot.
Shout out to you and liking that movie a lot.
I think after I finish this, I'm going to watch Sparkle, the original.
We've had enough musicals for today. We don't need it. We don't need
You hadn't watched any.
Yeah, I've had enough and I hadn't even watched it.
Right, so you can stay here and work.
I guess.
Play.
I guess I'll find me something to watch on my phone, I guess.
Yep.
Got
TV
YouTube
is occupied.
movies. Watch a YouTube movie.
That's what I'm on.
No, I'm going to watch my YouTube.
I'm on YouTube.
No.
Watching movies. Because it's free.
Well, I need to be able to tap in the doggone Netflix on my phone or something.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see about that. But anyway, today we're going to have a discussion about, like always, Black people. We got to talk about Black people because Black people have the biggest problem with putting that mirror in front of them and finding out what's really going on, what the root to our problems are. And to start this out, I want to ask the question, like I said originally, do you believe integration was a good thing for the Black community?
So I always say I do not know. I see the benefits of it, and then I see the damage that it has done to us. I'm talking about Dreamgirls and Sparkle, but I watch a lot of documentaries because recently I saw this history. She's a historian, and she said, when you study history, always ask questions. Why did this occur? What was happening? Why was this change needed? Why wasn't the change needed? And so I've been going into documentaries with those questions. Why was this beneficial to us or for us? Yeah. And then I look at today, how are Black children thriving or striving? How did I thrive in school, in the public school system? I look at those things. And one of the documentaries that I recently watched was about the busing in Boston in the 1960s and the 1970s. And we always talk about the South and how it's segregation, or there was Jim Crow. And a lot of people are, well, we went up north, and watching that documentary, it was on YouTube too, but I can't remember the busing experience. I can't remember what it was called, but it was showing how there were white schools, and then their black children had their schools, and then they wanted to be bused to these schools for integration. Mm-hmm. And with the integration, it was making everybody upset, because you're placing your children, first off, you're busing them somewhere where they don't know. You're leaving the community of which they are in to take them somewhere else, which still happens today, Absolutely. Because the message is, I want my child
to get a better
education. And so with the whole segregation thing, it's like, why with black people, and this has been my question for everything since you're asking, what do I feel about segregation? Why did we feel, and why do we still feel till this day, that we need to put ourselves into their communities, into their schools?
Yeah.
Why aren't we boosting up our teachers and having funds for our community to thrive?
So even with that situation, they went to the schools, but in those schools, they didn't feel comfortable because all of the teachers were white teachers.
Right.
So they couldn't relate to any of the things that the teachers were used to dealing with.
Yes.
And we have this notion, just to go back a little bit, we have this notion that not only are white schools better than black schools, but we also have, the community, we had a notion that if we left the South and went up north, then it was going to be all good. And I think a lot of movies kind of depict that as well. So when we saw the whole busing to the north and they were having the same issue, it was like, wow. We really didn't have a concept of what was going on up north, because it was always like the Underground Railroad. We're going up north. We're leaving the South. We're leaving Jim Crow. But in all actuality, Jim Crow existed all over the country.
It existed all over the country, but it wasn't as relevant up north as it was in the South, right? So, because you also have to think, there were people who were white people who were leaving the South, also going to live up north. Mm-hmm. So that mindset of you're a nigger or whatever it is, that's gonna follow you. Just like the migration, right? The black migration. We leave in the South and we're going up north, and we placed ourselves in Harlem. We placed ourselves, like, I didn't even know
in Philadelphia.
Like all these places in Boston is Roxbury, right? And so, which I didn't know. This is why I watched these these documentaries. But it was just interesting because, like you said, they were doing this integration, or trying to have black children have better educations, but they were filling classrooms with white faces.
Absolutely.
And one of the things is, I'm not saying that white people cannot teach black history. I don't believe that, right? Of course, they haven't gone through whatever it is we've gone, but I do not feel that there is some type of just like you discriminate with, oh, you can't teach that, because that's like saying I can't teach my children about George Washington, right?
But there's also a certain style of teaching that black people want to have, and right. I think that's why they say,
because in the documentary, the guy was talking about the children don't even know who like James Brown or Otis Redding is. But I was like, that's pop culture.
Yeah,
that's not
those times.
It's not like you like.
I almost think that black people, the reason why they say that, because they think if a white person teach black history, then they should take blame or take ownership for what happened.
My people did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the beef, that white people, they may teach the history, but they're not. Black people will be like, you're not teaching it correctly because you're not taking the fault for any of this.
And then with that, if they are not teaching it correctly, it's because of what books have been rendered out into the school system.
Absolutely.
And then it's also because Black people are not saying, hey, we need to add this. And I think also what the bigger issue is with Black history, it's separate from history, from American history. We separate it. It's just like,
it's almost like one has nothing to do with the other.
kind of like here in Texas. With history, if you go to high school, you take Texas history.
Yeah.
You don't learn about
World history.
No. You learn Texas history.
Texas is its own world.
It is. We are on,
Straight up.
But we learn Texas history. So if you take that like that, but if you go to, I guess every city kind of probably does teach their own thing. But if you look into private schools or places like that, they are delving in deeper into the United States as a whole. What happened? This took place because of, what was happening in the South during this time and what was happening in the North during this time. What two things were taking place? Like, I can tell you some Texas stuff. I can tell you about the Alamo. Yeah. I can tell you those things. But as I've gotten older,
they kind of left you in a bubble.
Yes.
As far as overall knowledge.
And now, so my goal is to teach my girls, hey, this is happening everywhere. Watch this documentary. This is what segregation was looking like.
This is the bigger picture.
This is the bigger picture. Yeah. And I think we all miss the bigger picture, trying to prove, well, my history is more valuable than your history. This history doesn't matter because you did this to my people and we didn't do anything to you, but you came and did. Like, that is the battle that's going on, instead of looking at it in the totality and saying, this occurred. And because this occurred, this happened. I am here today. How can I change history? But we're so worried about
trying to separate history,
the past.
Yeah.
And not making changes. You can look at presidential elections and see that the same thing that happened with Trump, that is happening with Biden is repeating, right? Like it.
And we want to think like integration was just a black and white thing, but we also have Republicans and Democrats. So there's segregation everywhere. There's rich and poor. That's why they're trying to eliminate the middle class, because they want it to be one or the other. Just like they don't really recognize independence and things like that because they want it to be one or the other. We're out here living segregated lives and we don't even realize it because we're looking at just one aspect of it. Exactly.
Division.
We're just looking at black and white.
To divide. And that's all it is when you look at things. And because I kind of struggled last year's 2023. Last year I kind of struggled with how I wanted to teach. And because I was going hard with Black history, you need to know this. You need to know this. But I fumbled because it was like, there is more to it than that. Like, there is more to it. Not saying Black history does not matter, but there's so many other things that are involved in it. And so now, as we go into our spring semester, I'm like, no, we need to learn. Well, last year I also was doing it, but the spring semester is the American Revolution. We talked about colonization last year.
Them colonizers.
The colonizers. But it just wasn't, the European, like, it wasn't just them anyhow. But we are moving into the American Revolution. And so how I'm going to teach it, I have this American Revolution book where it's showing, the basic history of what people want you to know. But then I have this Black history book,
the extended version,
that needs to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
While, like I was saying earlier, like, while this was happening, well, this Black man was doing this.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all bad. There was some good in there for us. And with the whole integration thing, I think we lost sight because we wanted to fit in
We wanted to be a part of the things that we really didn't like the most.
And so now we're blaming them. I don't know who them is, but we're blaming them because they're not teaching what we want them to teach.
But does it really fall on the school system to teach your children?
That's why I said we blame them.
And that's why I said in the beginning, we don't want to hold that mirror up. We don't want to wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and hold ourselves accountable for the things that our children don't know. And you really can't blame the children because the parents don't know. I've said this before. You can't teach something that you don't know. Right. You're not taking the education of your people seriously enough, and you just placing the blame on a school system and other white people and saying this is what you're not doing. But what are you not doing?
Right. If you want your child to know something. And then I think that was a big thing with segregation. Like I said, I don't know if segregation was good or bad. I don't know.
I think it was a little bit of both.
It was a mixture. But what I do know is that during that time, Black people made sure that their children were up here.
Education was a priority. Absolutely.
You are going to read this book. You're going to write these papers. I don't know if y'all know Ben Carson's story. His mother could not read. So he was struggling in school. He was being a little troublemaker in school. But what she had both of her sons do was go to the library, pick books, read them, and write reports on them. She couldn't read, but they didn't know she couldn't read. So she was like, y'all are going to do this. And this is what they had to do. So what is out of the
expectation, raise their expectations as on the personal expectations.
So Black people, what is your expectation for us?
Yeah. And I think a part of the problem is that we no longer champion educators and inventors and people who are actually in the struggle, who actually had things that they had to overcome because they were in the Jim Crow era. But there are a lot of Black people who came out of that and became millionaires and influencers, what they call them today. But there are a lot of people out there that we don't even know about. A lot of children don't know about. And I think if we start reshaping the people that we see as role models.
Yes.
Because when you think about it, basketball players and entertainers, all of them, they're really not role models. They're on the same page as everybody else was because all they were trying to do was get out of the ghetto.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But you have people like Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington. These people actually could not read, was actually born in slavery and overcame. It's all in your mind.
Yeah, because Frederick Douglass has a whole book, and he wrote his own narrative. Matter of fact, it's the narrative of Frederick Douglass.
Straight up.
And he writes his own narrative, and I've read it. I've listened to it. And so I've been meaning to buy it so we can read it as a family, because that's I think that's another big thing that Black families should do as education. Education is not just a at school thing or a teacher thing.
It's a life thing.
It is a life thing, but it is a parent thing. You can read with your children. So we have to stop blaming the school system. You have to stop blaming the white people. Like, what do you want to do to better?
Place some of that blame on yourself.
To better your child. Like one of the projects, I'm calling it a term project, but we're going from January to May. And so I wrote up a list, and it's called A Look Through Black History. And I have it in different categories. It's sports, dancers, actors and actresses, musicians, activists, authors. And the girls are going to pick one person every month until May and write 2-page papers on these people, whoever they choose from my list. And like in sports, I have like Kobe Bryant, Hank Aaron, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, those are the athletes who paved the way for, let's say, Jordan, let's say LeBron, right? We don't hear children talk about them.
Yeah.
I have Kobe on there. I have Kobe on there for a reason.
Shout out Kobe Bryant.
Because
that boy was great.
Because he was great, but because my girls don't know him the way, well, I don't really know him, but I knew. Like,
I didn't really like Kobe Bryant until he passed and I heard all of the
greatness.
stories, all the greatness, everything that he accomplished, because I never really paid it any attention while he was here.
Right.
And that's what happens a lot. You don't know to give people their flowers because you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But after he passed, and I started hearing all the stories from Shaquille O'Neal and all of these influential people.
You become interested.
I become interested to go to deep dive into it. Yeah.
And that's my point of this. So I just did the sports ones, but I added on comedians. And so I was like, I asked my mom, I was like, do I add Bill Cosby on there? She was like, yeah, because that is despite whatever's happening in today, he was this person back then. So why wouldn't you have your children study the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Absolutely.
Right?
Let me ask you this. What about R. Kelly?
Absolutely.
And as Black people, I ain't
listening to his music.
His whole that man was he's still the king of R&B.
I'm not listening to his music though.
But the things that he achieved throughout his life.
I'm not taking that away.
Yeah.
I'm not listening to his music is what I'm saying.
I might listen to his music.
I'm not because of what he did. I can't. Because that was.
But you can say that about Bill Cosby as well.
Yeah, I don't have music to listen to. I'm not watching his shows.
You're not watching the Cosby Show?
Where is it at?
I don't know.
Exactly.
They took
it's
it
not
off.
Available anywhere.
Yeah, that's real.
Little Bill isn't even available. That's like a little kid
show.
But
we watched.
I'm watching.
Fat Albert.
We did.
Yeah.
I did.
That's that boy.
So yes, I asked my mom, like, do I? She said yes, because this is it's history, and then you can't take away whatever bad that someone has done. They need to know the bad. They need to know, this person.
There's a lesson in his whole life.
This person did something that he wasn't supposed to do, and I'm not gonna. And that's just my approach. I'm not gonna listen to R. Kelly's music, but if they have to listen to sample and be like, he worked with Aaliyah, he worked like this, they need to know it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they need to know it, but it's history.
It'll be good for them to know it, so they have an idea of who the person was.
And that is my goal. I had to stop solely focusing on, it's Black people, it's white people. Man, Google that person, research them, let me know what you learned.
Yeah.
Do some research. That's it. So
because if you research a Black person long enough, you're gonna find somebody white who helped him along the way.
Just like Harlem Globetrotters. Did y'all know that a Jewish man owned that? I knew about the NBA, and I didn't know that the Harlem Globetrotters and the NBA had worked together like that. There's a movie on Hulu that is called. Is it Sweetwater? I think it's called Sweetwater.
Yeah, that was his name.
And he was a Harlem Globetrotter. Very good story. Never heard of him in my life. So, we all watched it together. Matter of fact, we watched it as a family. And that was a part of the segregation, the integration thing. Like, that was a part of it. It's a part of our story. And we have to, I don't know.
We have to look past this black and white stuff, because at the end of the day, there are things that are more important than race.
I was just thinking that, like, is at the end of the day, because, I always say how I take surveys and stuff, and they always ask, is your political journey, how important is it to you? And at first, when I started, I was like, it's important because I need people to know. And now I'm like, it's not that important. Because just like I always say, we can't take material things with us. We can't take these voting polls with us. Like, that's not going with us. Yes, we have a decision to make here on earth with voting and all of that. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen is what's going to happen.
Absolutely. You got to stay on the right side of things.
What's going to happen is going to happen.
The battle is good and evil. Which side you on? That's what we need to be focused on.
The battle is the shoot. They know, I guess it's a battle, but I'm with God.
It's a spiritual battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to stay on the right side of the fence. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So we need to focus on being ready.
Segregation and integration good. I don't know. Martin Luther King fought for it. It happened.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing that some of it is detrimental.
Absolutely.
I think,
and we like, I think you mentioned this, but we had more things.
Yeah, I was just about to go there. I don't want to go there.
We had way more things going for ourselves before integration than after.
That's where I'm confused at.
We had our own everything. Stores, schools, buses. But as soon as integration went through, and that might have been an incentive for the integrators.
We lost all of that. Now, today, we're where? We're at Walmart. We're at Target.
Yeah.
We're at Best Buy. Mm-hmm. There are no Black-owned big
grocery stores
that we can go to.
I bet you can find a Black club, though.
That's true. You know,
straight up.
That's
we focused on the wrong thing.
That's where I'm confused about, because we had all of these things, and if books weren't being, if the white schools had better books, then why weren't we fighting to create something of our own?
Yeah.
You know,
with the same standards.
Because
it's obvious that we wanted that standard. So why didn't we just find our own and make our own standards?
That's where I'm confused. Like, who can give me the answer? That's where I'm confused. That's where I'm on the fence, because it's like we are great. I think everybody is great, right? Absolutely. Everybody has greatness. Yeah. But as we talk about Black people, we are great. Our minds are brilliant, and we do not excel to that brilliance that we can achieve.
We don't want to tap in. We don't want to tap into our greatness. It's too much work. A lot of people think it's a lot of work to get to.
Well, I guess after all them 400 years, we just tired. But how are we tired?
And we ain't went through nothing.
That's another question I have.
And then it's like, why won't you fight harder knowing that your people fought for you?
Right.
They didn't even know you, but they cared about the future enough to fight and die for you. And you don't have no fight in you. We don't have any fight in us as Black people. We allow ourselves to stay in poverty. We allow ourselves to be at the bottom of the barrel, and we're okay with it. And even if you ain't okay with it, you're content because we ain't doing nothing. We need to use our brains. The power's in the mind. You got to have, and we have to start dreaming. I think the dream has been taken away from Black people, because we look at our current situations and we don't see, it's almost like we're drowning in just despair. Mm-hmm. We need to figure out how to come up for air and breathe and take in the air, right? And stop trying to capitalize off your own people.
And lean on one another. Ask for help. We're one of the craziest things that, you know, I kind of don't like when people say, well, I can, you know, depend on a white person more than I can depend on a Black person. I'm like, that sucks.
That sucks.
Monkey balls.
It's real sucks. Because I can tell you this. I've had more white people help me out in life than I've had Black people.
But what if it's just that you liked how they were helping you out, but not the way that the Black people were helping you out?
No, I wasn't receiving help. It wasn't the type of help.
It might be the type of help.
No, I didn't receive it.
It was a question.
I'm saying.
Maybe you were more receptive because if they were open. And we don't be so open. We be closed off, but we want to help.
I was looking for somebody. And that's how I got a hold of Ben. In my time of need, there was a white man who came and helped me out. Now, I'm not saying there aren't Black people out there that are willing to help. I didn't find him.
He's out there.
He may be.
Or he might not be out there, but you're the person who needs to help.
I need to help. Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like I said before, we need to stop trying to capitalize off of each other, because me and my brother-in-law had a conversation today, and he was saying how retarded, like if you really think about it, in the hood, you got homeboys shooting dice against each other.
Yes.
I got $12, you got $9. You win my $9, now you got what's 9 and 12, 9, 10, 11? You got $21, but now I'm asking for you to buy me something to eat.
When you both could have had a meal for $21.
Straight up.
Y'all could went to KFC and got that box for $20. Okay, my bad.
You got people selling dope to each other, and they live in the same neighborhood. And I'm taking your money, and I'm getting good, and I'm gonna buy me some food and everything. But your neighbor ain't got no money because they done spent it on what you selling. It makes no sense.
And that's what, like, with what is it? What was happening? The crack. What was the crack epidemic?
The crack epidemic.
The crack, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The crack epidemic. That is what was happening. And you, like, I don't want to bring rappers into it, but you glorify these rappers.
Yes,
but and
they was the ones selling the crack.
And they singing it in a song.
Yeah, and you like, oh, that sound good.
But your mama can't eat because your mama
auntie
high,
on crack.
You know,
your mama on crack. I sold my brother crack. Everybody on crack. Yeah, I can't eat nothing. I ain't got no food. I got some crack though.
Right, so our mentality
make a peanut butter and crack sandwich.
Is like, where is that? And then the first thing, if a black person who says something that you don't agree with,
you all on his neck.
You're on them.
Yeah,
but it's like we're not helping each other. And
just I seen Anton Daniels. He had a podcast where there was 4 ladies, and they all was in agreement that Thomas Sowell was trash and Candace Owens are trash. Now, one thing those two have in common is they hold that mirror up in your face and let you see yourself. So they were saying how they are detrimental to the black community because they always talking about our faults. But how can you get to our positives if you don't speak on our negatives? You have to start somewhere. You have to see what the problem is, identify the problem in order to get past the problem. And most black people don't want to identify the problem. And the problem is the person in the mirror. It's not everybody else's fault. You need to start looking at yourself. I need to start looking at myself. We need to start looking at ourselves and see what the root of the issue is so we can start heading in the right direction, because how we're living now is not going to get us anywhere. You know, like I say, we are worse off than they was in the 50s and the 60s as far as mentally.
But also with our narrative that is being portrayed, right? So you have the lady who wrote the 1619 Project.
Mm-hmm.
You have Ibram X. Kendi, I believe his name is. You have Ta-Nehisi Coates. You have these people who have created this narrative that and are misinforming us with information that is not.
And we're taking it at face value because valid. We think they're on top of things.
Right. So you have these people, and then you have these people who are creating these books, and then these books are being created into documentaries, and the documentaries are being put on Netflix, because I feel like Netflix is one of the number one streaming services there is that everybody really has access to. And so you have, who else? Ava DuVernay with the 13, right? You have these documentaries, and then you're giving people these things. This is what the Constitution says. Slaves are 3/5 of a person, but you haven't read it yourself.
And that goes into, we're taking entertainers and we're not listening to people who are scholars and historians.
But these people that I just named were supposed to be scholars and historians.
Supposed to be.
So everybody is saying, I still have not made it through 1619 because I can't get past.
It's a hard read.
It's not a hard read. Yeah, no, it is a hard read when you are reading
lies.
When you're reading things that were written from the 1950s and the 1960s, and then you're seeing something that was written in 2020 that is invalid to what was said. So that, I guess it is a
completely contrary.
That's a hard read. I own the book. The book is on display in my living room, but I can't get through it. I own Stamped. And me and my children went through Stamped, and I
feel stumped.
Right? You know, so these people are supposed to be scholars. They're supposed to be the black people who are leading us. And it seems like, how do I say this? The same way that they might feel about Candace Owens, I mean, I don't feel this way about them. Somebody else might feel that about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So instead of bashing Candace Owens, Thomas Sowell, whoever other conservative black person that you don't like, why aren't we coming together trying to make a solution for it as a whole? Why are we so split? You will call her, I don't know why I'm on Candace, my bad, but you will call her a coon, even Brandon Tatum. Like, you will call these people coons or whatever, but it's like you're saying, look in the mirror. What is separating you from them?
And stop judging people off of hot takes, because people will take small clips and chop it up and put it together, and it will be all out of context. You won't understand what's going on, and you'll just take that for what it is, when if you look at if you digest the whole segment of what they're saying, you might get a better understanding of what's being said.
Well, look, that's like the Cat Williams thing that's happening right now, right? In Club Shay Shay.
They done chopped it up.
People have taken it. If you want full clarity, you want to know what that man said, go watch the 2 hours of it. Yeah. I watched it.
You got to invest some time.
I was kind of done with it because I watched it and I saw the jokes, ha ha, he, right? But then it bothered me when this man said from the ages of 8 to 12, he read about 3,000 books. And black people are like, there's no way.
They called him a lie.
There's no way. Yeah. There's no way.
Just because you're not capable doesn't mean everybody else is it?
Stuff like that's the type of stuff that makes me upset, that gets me going, because it's like, is reading not valuable? Are books not valuable? And he also said he wasn't reading the picture books and all of this.
I think he went to college by the time he was like 15 or something.
He didn't go to college.
He went to some university.
No, he did not. He didn't even go to high school.
I could have sworn I read that he went to a university.
Well, from what he said in his interview, he left home at 13 and he went to Florida. Now, he was very smart from what he said in the interview, but in that interview, he never said anything about going to college. He never said anything about going to college, unless it's on his Wikipedia, and he just didn't want to go down that route. But he never said anything in that interview, and I watched it. And so my point to that was with the clips and everything, and people are taking clips and running with it and not getting the full picture of what was said, how it was said. It's just like, that man is crazy. He's a crackhead and all these things. And it's just how do we continue to condemn one another? That's the word. We condemn. It's not even judging. Because I don't like that whole judging thing. But we continue to condemn one another. And then in the same breath, we will say, well, the black community isn't doing well, or we need to do this, or we need to do that. How, when this man may be speaking truth and you knock him down, and I think that's what's wrong too. We don't listen to one another.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to. No. It said he to National Science Academy in Dayton at 12.
Yeah, he was young, but he said at 13, him and his daddy. That was his house. Those were his rules. And he had to get out of there.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting, because you read the comments, you read the memes, and you see that people aren't comprehending what is being said.
No understanding.
I know today some of the stuff that we're saying is not going to be comprehended correctly, because you're going to take it however it is that you want to take it. And you know what? That's your right.
One thing I have realized is you can say the right thing, and there's going to be a multitude of people who are going to be like, no, that's not right.
Absolutely. Because just like in the Bible, just like the Bible, we are in, where are we at? 2 Kings now. And half of the way that I've always heard the Bible from people is completely wrong.
All the stories, they done made them up. That twisted them up.
Even right now, we're reading Sounder, which is about a dog and his master and all this. And they ain't telling that right, but because she didn't read, but I'm like, I know I ain't read that. That ain't right.
Straight up.
I think the girls were even thinking that we didn't read
Even like Uncle Tom.
Yes. I was telling people that, and y'all still be talking about Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom is the hero. So when you call people Uncle Tom,
I appreciate it.
They saving some folks. Supposed to be saving some folks. Yeah. So reading is valuable.
Absolutely.
And we're not doing it enough. And we want to keep up with keep up with the Joneses. You want to keep up with the white folks. But guess what? They ain't even keeping them neither, because children what was it? 85% of children are not doing reading.
All children in America
suck.
No, it was 2/3.
Was it 2/3?
It was 85% of black children.
Okay, well 2/3. So that's 66% of children in the United States cannot read, and that's still a lot.
And the parents can't read either.
That's still a lot. So I don't know.
Education. Educate yourself. We can't say that enough. It's about education. That's why we ain't going nowhere, because we're not educated. If we get a little bit of knowledge, then we want to kick the person who don't have that little bit of knowledge down. You
have a little bit of knowledge and have healthy debates, right? This is my take on this.
Like the great debaters.
This is my take on this. This is how I view it, right? It's always an argument, or it's always... Once you don't agree with somebody, you start calling You start calling names. It's just like
turn red.
It's a conversation. I get it, but it's a conversation.
We don't have to agree, but we can come to a something.
An understanding.
Something.
You come to an understanding, and that is, as I view the Black community. There's a lot of us who are not coming to that understanding.
We're angry people. We don't even know what we're angry about.
We're angry at ourselves. We're angry at ourselves. How can they do that, but I can't?
Yeah. It's your fault.
Why won't that law change? But you're not doing anything. There's not enough of us.
Standing up.
There's not enough of us not standing up. There's not enough of us going into offices and trying to actually do the right thing.
We just want to sit in the shadows and complain.
Become aldermen. You don't have to be a mayor. Sit on city council. Like, these are things that you can change the small community, and then you can get to talk to the mayor. Hey, this is what we need to do.
We need this.
We need this.
Yeah.
We need this.
Absolutely. So,
in order to change, we need it, and it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And golly, I'm trying to get out. How do I contribute? Well, I told you earlier in the show, I contribute to it by making sure that I am teaching my children history.
Complete history.
Complete.
Yeah.
Take out that, well, you need to know this because we are valuable. But how do we become valuable?
Mm-hmm. I don't think we became valuable without the struggle. I think the struggle helped our value, because back then they seen their value through the struggle. So we need to take that same understanding and use that struggle as fuel to get you where you're trying to go. Dream big, use your head, use your thoughts, and understand that thoughts become things. So if you ain't thinking it, you ain't gonna be it. Dream big.
Well, you can't be something if you don't know that you're able to become those things.
So that's what we need to start doing too. We need to start.
And so that's where it comes into that integration thing with schools. If you have all white teachers, hold with me now. If you have all white teachers teaching Black children, a white teacher is not going to encourage that Black child the way that Black child needs to be encouraged.
Absolutely.
That is my opinion. I ain't got nothing against white people. Y'all know I don't.
I love white people.
But
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. It is not the same. It's different. And you asked me yesterday when we went to Half Price Books, and there was a book about helping Black adolescent males achieve in reading. You're like, what's the difference? I was like, there is a difference. There's a mental difference because they're not growing up the same way that others are growing up. They don't have that. They don't have a certain. They're lacking a certain understanding. There is a hardship. Yeah, and even if they come from the best of the best homes, there is still some type of hardship. And it sucks that I have to say this, but the hardship is the color of our skin, because people are so worked up on that. People are so worked up on the color of our skins that they forget our brains. Absolutely. They forget that we have this up here. So we focus on the outer, but we don't focus on the inner. And if I tear up your outside, you're going to forget about what's on the inside. And if I tell you, oh, you're smart for a Black child, like that's not cool. That's degrading. Point blank period. You smart. You got it. Yeah. You can do it. Or, there's stories of some children who say, well, my teacher told me I would never be anything. Mm-hmm. Well, who, like. But a lot of them use that as fuel. Yeah. Some don't. Some become angry. Yeah. But my point to that is just with Black students, Black teachers, and I think a lot of Black teachers want to be in the best districts because who wants, they don't want to be. Nobody wants to be in the ghetto. Right. Because the teachers don't want to use them books. Right. They don't want to be in them toe up doggone roach infested, rat infested places either. Okay. Underfunded. All that. Underfunded. All that. Yeah. And it's sad because our minds, it's just like, I have to be the best of the best. And the best, as we see it, as we've been conditioned to see it, is you have to be at the top with the best. But sometimes I think the best can be at the bottom too. Absolutely. Most of the best start at the bottom. The best and the blessed. The best and the blessed. Anybody up top is not blessed, but shoot, Yeah. I don't know. That's just my opinion. These are just our thoughts. Are any of our points valid? You think so? Let us know in the comments. But we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. It's been a good one. I hope so. I hope I reached. What is it? Reach one to teach. Reach one to teach one. Each one teach one. I hope I give y'all something to think about. Take what you need, throw away the rest. Because these are things that run through my mind. My goal is not to say, how can I make my children good little Black girls? No. How can I make my children good amazing human beings for this world? Absolutely. And we need, my last thought, we need to be less concerned with making money and more concerned with being good people. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. Once again, thank you to everybody who continues to rock with us. If this is your first time, make sure you hit that subscribe, that like, that share, all of that good stuff so we can continue to grow. We appreciate everyone who locks in with us. And like always, it's love, peace, and soul. Bye. Like Soul Train, baby.